Hey guys, welcome back to the Tough Love Podcast with Dr. John O'Connor. Today's guest, friend, and a person that has his hands in all aspects of regenerative medicine, Seth Berge. Welcome, brother.
Good to be here, man.
So this space completely intrigues me. I think it's something that I hear people talk about all the time, saying it's a billion-dollar space, it's climbing,
Yep.
But you touch a lot of aspects on it, so it's pretty impressive. One of the most powerful frontiers in healthcare today, but it's also one of the most misunderstood.
Yes.
Too much hype, too little education, too many people chasing opportunities instead of outcome. You understand the real impact. You said something to me when we were at Andy's, and that's Andy Elliott, that resonated with me. And I said, I'm going to do business with this guy. And you probably don't remember what you said. And you said, yeah, if we go and you're somewhere in the middle of nowhere, they get an injection, doesn't work, you send them back at no charge.
Mm-hmm.
You treat them again. That's the way I ran my patients. 20,000 patients later, I take care of people.
Yep.
And to me, I knew that you were raised right. Forget what it was in business. I'm like, Dad, be proud to hear that. But beyond that, you're a builder. You're a leader. You're a dad that you got 2 kids hooping. I love to see it. And, you're merging a lot of worlds. And the one thing is you're helping patients directly and you're empowering providers to do this the right way. So kudos to you. This episode is going to be about letting you kind of say what you do and whatnot. But you're creating a movement here for patients, for practitioners, and doing something really special. So with that being said, let's hear it.
Yeah, so like you said, I've got my hands in a lot of things, just about everything you can be involved in the regenerative medicine side from the business side. So I always like to make the disclaimer, I am not medically trained. I'm not Dr. Seth, not Nurse Seth, but I've got my hands in the business of regenerative medicine. And obviously, patient outcomes are a huge part of it, even though I'm not the actual provider. But been in the space almost 8.5 years now, which is like an eternity for the regenerative medicine space in this country, because it was in its very much infancy 8.5 years ago, and it's still, according to most people, they would say it's still in its infancy. I mean, it kind of feels weird for me to hear that because I've been in it for so long.
Almost a decade, yeah.
Yeah, so I got into it really originally because I was presented an opportunity to basically sell, because I've been a lifelong salesperson. I built sales organizations direct to consumer. I got into it as an opportunity to sell these treatment packages, and that's how I got started. And I didn't know a whole lot about stem cell therapy. I've been an athlete, not professional athlete my whole life, but my whole life is around sports. I love to follow the league. So you'd hear about, Kobe Bryant going overseas and getting this mysterious treatment, and a lot of the baseball guys and Tiger Woods and Jack Nicklaus, all these guys spending $100,000 getting this crazy stem cell therapy. So I'd heard about that. Then I went to a marketing conference. It was actually a chiropractor that was, more into marketing, and he was actually selling a business in a box, essentially saying, I will show you how to get involved in this world. Now, the business that I ran is totally different than the way that he presented it, but I will always be grateful for hearing about it that way. But yeah, it started off with direct to consumer. So the biggest barrier for regenerative medicine for the average person, we'll talk about providers and practitioners in a minute because they have some of the same issues, but you said it in the beginning, hype, education. So the way we started, and I still do this, is we do educational seminars for potential patients. So we'll do it on behalf of doctors or behalf of medical groups, but we'll give a 60 to 90 minute presentation, just kind of talk about everything that's going on, everything that the treatment can potentially help. We go into some of the science, we answer all the questions. We'll do like a 25-minute Q&A, talk about all the potential benefits, and then we hand them over to the medical team. But what we learned, what was so fascinating, is people are just dying for this knowledge, or they're dying too with health problems, but so many people are looking for alternatives to get out of chronic pain.
Yeah,
they're so sick of taking narcotics and just even NSAIDs, over the counter prescription, cortisone, steroid shots. People are tired of hearing that the only answer for chronic pain is surgery. So I noticed right away, it's like the public wants to know about it, right? So I found that early on that education was a huge part of it. Nobody makes a decision to do anything unless they're somewhat educated. So the dinner seminar thing, was huge for us, and I still have a bunch of guys that are doing that. And then the access. So that's the other biggest misconception. I'm still fighting it today. I shouldn't say fighting it. I'm glad to help people understand it, but most people still think that the only place to get stem cell therapy or good regenerative therapy, exosome therapy, is by going overseas. It is a big misconception. So I've been kind of fighting against that for 8+ years. And even providers that are like, oh, I really want to do this. I know it works. I've talked to people who've gone overseas. It's done miracles. They don't realize that there's a compliant, safe way to do this space. And while, again, I'm not a provider, I can help those providers do everything with compliance, with integrity, and again, patient outcomes. For
testimonials.
Right? I only like working with the right providers that are more interested in patient outcomes, not just a dollar, but it's been a really wild ride the last 8.5 years. And if you talk to most people, they'll say this is just the beginning. which again for me seems a little bit weird because I've been doing it for 8 years, but it is truly a very, very exciting industry.
I love that. You know, one of the things, so I own a company called Velocity HP Coaching, and this is why I was so excited to be talking to you today about advanced regenerative modalities, right? So we refer to anything, exosomes, stem cells, PRP, but I deal with class 4 laser, shockwave, PEMF, and, you know, and soon to be stem cells and everything that you bring to the table. And the reality is that when the doctors ask me, like, how do you do this? I mean, you are like ridiculous what you do and the results. I said, it's education, like you just said. I go, and they're like, and I always say ETR. And they're like, what? Education, testimonials, results.
Yeah.
They're like, what? Really, I go every time. That's it. I educate. The highest form of selling in healthcare, in my opinion, is not being salesy. It's educating them with what this does, right? And then when you get the testimonials, the post-care, because the therapist, doctor, et cetera, whoever did the procedure got the results, now we share them and we broadcast them. And here's the thing, is like, I always tell the patients, and going back to what you said, we'll do it again, right? I have patients that come back and they'll reach out, and I have one right now that I'm seeing him. Hi, Jim. And he was in it. He had a back surgery and they crippled him. Yeah. And one of the things you don't know, and you'll hear it now, is at like 46, I broke my back. Oh. I was out hunting with my dad and something shifted, and I'd already had some issues, like not typical basketball issues, but this was a game changer. And the inactivity, where we always joke around in the physical medicine world, say motion is motion, it shut me down. Wow. And I was getting epidurals, I got stem cells, and different procedures. You would yell at me for doing it, and nothing was working. And I didn't sleep for 90 days. This is what started this podcast, 90 days. I got down to 178 pounds. Wow. Okay, I was literally muscles, ligaments, and tendons. Background for me, fractured skull, I was paralyzed. Like, I'm not one for like not sucking it up, but this was killing me. Like, I was broken. And I then, after speaking to Stu McGill and a couple other foremost experts in spinal rehab, knew that I had to get the pain down, and then I need to rebuild myself brick by brick. My middle name should be discipline. I knew I was going to do it. And why do I say this? Because the advanced regenerative modalities, which I was just touching the surface on, much like 8.5 years, and people are just learning it. I said the next phase for me is these technologies are amazing. I work for MedRay Laser and Technology, and we utilize a class 4 laser. It's a 45-watt laser, and the results we get are incredible. The shockwave results we get with the soft shockwave are incredible. The results we get with the pulse PEMF that I also work with that company are amazing. But now I want to start stacking. I want to put, the stem cells into this equation and really say, guys, we're going to do it different. And that's why I was like, I'm going to be wearing the God stem cells hat, So I had a question for you. Education is the true moat, right? You said education is the biggest barrier in this industry. Why is lack of education more dangerous than lack of technology?
If you're a patient, if you're a potential patient, let's just speak from a customer standpoint, 99% of them know virtually nothing about regenerative medicine. And sometimes it's almost worse if they know a little bit because they maybe read one article or saw something really stupid, and that's all they know. And you talked about it, ignorance is almost worse than, you'd almost want them to be a blank slate sometimes, and I read this one article, or this one guy on YouTube said this one thing, but he's probably some clinic from overseas I was trying to, talk shit about, whatever. But it starts with education. So first of all, so many patients still, so many customers, so many people still don't understand when we talk about stem cells, exosomes, we're not talking about embryonic or fetal tissue. That's illegal. It's never been a thing in the US. It's completely illegal. We don't do that. So I always like to start off, even it might seem extremely basic to people like us, but the products that we use, stem cells, exosomes, Wharton's jelly, all that stuff comes from donated birthing tissue. It's human cell and biologic. So when a mother is having a baby at a hospital and she's going to have a scheduled C-section, if it's a hospital that's large enough that participates in cord banking, they'll ask that mother what she wants to do with her birthing tissue. The tissue is the cord, it's the placenta, it's all the amniotic tissue and fluid. So if that mother consents, she's got 3 options. She can check a box that says donate to science. About 80% of mothers do that. Very, very few will actually check a box that says destroy it. I don't know why anybody would do that. The third option is they can pay money at the hospital to have the cord frozen in perpetuity, several $1,000s a year in case you ever need it. Most of them are checking the box of donate. So that's only for scheduled C-sections, and once they check that box, that mother's going to get all of her medical history is going to get pulled, or vaccination records, they're going to screen her a little bit, and then only if that birth goes completely as planned, on the dot, no complications. The baby's delivered, and there's a few extra nurses in the room that will then preserve that birthing tissue with the same type of guidelines they would if you're donating a kidney. It's all ran by the American Association of Tissue Banks. So they preserve all that tissue, they immediately cryo-freeze it, and then there's like third-party labs that are FDA registered and AATB guidelines that will then screen, clean, and procure that tissue. So every communicable disease is tested for. They remove endotoxins, hemoglobin. They make sure that that it's safe. Okay. Then that's where I come in. Me and my partners, who do a lot of volume, we purchase all the raw materials, and then we contract manufacture with a couple of U.S. labs here that are registered with the FDA. We tell them the products we want to have made. We know the marketplace, so we know we want to have the most condensed products. We want to have the most stem cells, the most umbilical cord tissue, highest counts of exosomes, because we know what the marketplace is. We want to beat the marketplace, and then we do a ton of volume. Me and my group, we're probably going to do over 500,000 units of stem cells and exosomes. We have 14 different products we make. So we just kind of went with these two manufacturers that said, how much money would we have to give you in order to make these products, which will be the best in the market, at a price point that we will never get beat by another lab, and then there's still some margin. So I know I'm kind of jumping ahead. You're probably going to ask me how I got into all that. But on the manufacturing side, a lot of people just simply, why would they, don't understand how
do we get
it? Because because if what ends up happening is,
that's the question.
Yeah.
So that's clearing up right now. Is I have companies as social media influencer all around the world that reach out to me as an athlete, as I'm about to get my pro card for bodybuilding. Is like, hey, come, we'll take care of you. Come do stem cells. Come to Mexico. Come here. Come there. But I love hearing right here on U.S. soil.
U.S. soil, U.S. products too. So
so I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so why is saying the right thing just as important as doing the right thing in regenerative medicine? How does that protect both the patient and providers long term?
It's so important. Obviously, it protects patients saying the right thing, having whatever group, whatever clinic, whatever organization, very important that you're saying the right things, not over-promising. There's some scammy people in the industry. I hear about it sometimes. Stem cells will cure anything. Oh, just do an IV of stem cells and you're blind, you'll see. I mean, there has been some abuse in this space, so it's important for protection of consumers that the right thing is being said. But it's probably even more important, to be honest with you, on the business side, to be in the medical space, because these products are not FDA approved.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to always clear that up. Sometimes people hear FDA or not FDA approved and they think not safe or not legal, but I always ask people, do you take a multivitamin? Have you ever taken zinc, vitamin C? Any supplement, if you look at the bottle, what does it say about the FDA? It says these statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. It doesn't mean they're bad, but what does the FDA stand for? Food and Drug Administration. So if a vitamin or something natural like vitamin C, that's not a drug. That's how this industry is too. So not to nerd out, but to nerd out, what they're doing in these labs is they're taking a cord, an umbilical cord, extracting the Wharton's jelly portion of the cord, which is the gelatinous, gooey, good stuff where all the stem cells, growth factors, cytokines, proteins, exosomes, hyaluronic acid, collagens type 1 and 3, all the good stuff that gets your body to heal is extracted from that cord after it's been screened.
Can you take a bath in that? Because I
probably you probably can. You probably can.
Kind of be like Ghostbusters.
Yeah, but what's nice about it, that's not a drug. You can't patent, you can't file a drug for something that's completely natural. So it's not going to be FDA approved, but it doesn't mean it's not FDA regulated. The space, it's incredibly regulated. How we have to make these products, they have to be what we call minimally manipulated. We are not allowed, nor would we want to, take that cord, take one cell out of it, culture, expand it in a petri dish. They do that overseas. They take one, that's all. Like, we give you 400 million stem cells. It's like you took some stem cells, diluted them. Now the downs, and by the way, I am not saying anything against overseas stem cell clinics. They get great results. I'm not even saying it's dangerous, but I'm just going to tell you the difference. We are not allowed to take one cell and expand
replicate,
it.
Yeah.
The problem with doing that the FDA doesn't think it's safe, and they might be right. All I know is we're not going to go against the FDA, but every iteration away from the original stem cell that it's basically cloned, we know less and less about what it's going to do in the body long term.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't know. There's long term, we don't know, and they're also less and less powerful every iteration. The 35th is not the same as the first. So we are literally taking tissue out of the cord, freezing it, and when it goes in your knee, it's going to be like, say, a 2 ml vial or 2 cc vial. It's going to be frozen, hand thawed, and as soon as it's hand thawed, we got live cells, live tissue. That tissue is going right into your joint space, which probably has damaged tissue, and that's where the magic happens. So I know that was a long answer to your short question, but there's a lot that goes into the marketing. So if you say things, you asked me about what's important not to say. Even things like saying the product can cure or specifically treat that condition you have in your knee. Let's just say you have osteoarthritis. Even though there's thousands of studies where Wharton's jelly stem cells have major improvement for osteoarthritis of the knee, there's never been a federal drug indication for Wharton's jelly stem cells for the knee. So something as stupid as saying could potentially will save you versus we will treat your osteoarthritis. Well, of course we all know what it's going to do, but that's where I help providers who want to get in the space. I've stayed squeaky clean for 8.5 years in the space. I take this stuff seriously about not staying out of the crosshairs of the FDA, the FTC, and a big part of that is they really do not want to see you market the products like they're friends in the big pharmaceutical industries.
100%. We're not Synvisc.
Yeah, but that's really what it is. Like, you better not talk about this product the same way that Synvisc or Cortisone gets it, because they spend $800 million bringing their drug to market, and pharma does not like some guys coming in with natural products healing somebody quickly.
They're circumventing the kickback system.
So it's very important what you say, especially on the provider professional side.
I love it. First off, guys, today's podcast is going to circulate like crazy because we're going to put it out there. People need to know about this. It's accessible. I know we're bringing it to Monmouth County very soon. And the reality is that, again, it's much like how I describe PEMF to patients. Are we saying it's curing something? It's optimizing, right? It's optimizing your health. It is helping the body regenerate. Like, I go on a PEMF and I say, guys, act like your body's a cell phone. When you go on pulse electromagnetic field therapy, it's supercharging every cell in your body.
Yeah.
So if you could put something in there to enhance and optimize the cell, then in theory it should be working more efficiently. And that's every cell in the body, as you heard, Seth describing what's in that cord, cord blood or jelly. It's all the goods. Like, it's all the good stuff. And so again, I'm excited to be bringing this to the table.
People hear stem cells, and I'm guilty of it. I'm wearing a shirt and a hat that says "got stem cells." That's the sexy word, but you said it. There's everything in that umbilical cord, the stem cells, the growth factors. It's all sending signals into that area even to your own stem cells to start the healing process naturally.
You're passionate about access and affordability. How do you expand access without lowering standards or compromising outcomes?
Yeah, very, very simple for me. So the business model that I built to the direct to consumer, rather than starting this is just the way I do it, rather than starting brick and mortar clinics in every state, multiple cities, and having people have to drive to get treatment, I saw that as a barrier for the patient if they had to drive too far or whatever. So what I did, instead of spending the cost of setting up all these brick and mortar clinics, plus I don't have any medical background, I started hiring nurse practitioners that were already in the orthopedic space. So take them from a pain clinic, and maybe they work 3-4 days a week for a pain doctor, giving cortisone shots, Synvisc shots, so that human anatomy and joint injections is like...
They're already well versed.
They're already well versed. Then we have some certification that we send them through for regenerative medicine, and we put them on the road. So the only thing that I do, I don't have all these fancy machines like you have. We just do IVs and joint injections. So any type of that treatment can be done in somebody's home or office. We could do it right here if we wanted to, if we had a nurse practitioner. You don't need to be in a surgical center to get an injection or an IV. So I took the barrier of location and just said, if we can do these educational seminars, we can do online marketing, anywhere where there's a patient where I've got nurse practitioners set up and a medical director, which now I have all 50 states. I have over 100 nurse practitioners. So virtually anywhere in the country, if somebody said, I want to get stem cell therapy or I want to get whatever, I'll be able to send a nurse practitioner or a PA directly to that person's home or office and treat them just like that. And sometimes people think, concierge medicine, white glove, it's got to be way more expensive, because normally it is. You hear about wealthy people paying doctors like $100,000 a year on retainer just
to be available to them.
Just be available. So people think, it's got to be more expensive. Actually, as a business side of it, these practitioners are all contracted. I have a per patient fee. I'm not paying, $100,000, $200,000 salaries. If I get 4 patients in a town, I'll send them there, pay that provider. I know my set costs on product. I know what I put into marketing. I know what I have to pay the provider. And it actually allows me to have the most concentrated products, but actually be less expensive. It's not cheap at all. They're getting more by going through me, but the overhead is actually far, far lower.
So you get a better product.
Yeah, than most models.
One of the things I think is you work closely with providers nationwide,
Yep.
right? What's the biggest mistake you see clinics make when they try to add regenerative
When they try
services?
to add it?
Yeah.
They're bad at educating. So what a lot of providers think, and I love providers, I might be critical of them a little bit here. I love providers, but a lot of them don't know how to talk about something new. So they think, if I just offer regenerative therapy, people will come to the clinic, open their checkbook or their credit card, whatever, and just
start pulling.
Yeah. Now they probably will be able to, and most ones I set up, they'll start with their first, with like their warm leads, the people that they already have, and that's great. But unfortunately, too many of the providers are not very good at selling, and unfortunately, because this is not covered by insurance, a lot of providers doctors are just so used to just talking about a shot or whatever. They don't have to talk money because it's all covered, copay, go to the office to talk about money. So too many doctors and providers aren't good at talking about money with patients. They're not good at talking to a patient's level too.
Yeah.
Because when I first got into this, the whole business model that we paid for was having the doctor give the seminar. Now some can, but we partnered with a couple right away. They could not. They could not. They didn't sell shit because they were just like, we got to get the science out. Now, I like science, but I don't need, nobody wants 70 minutes. If somebody's in pain, if somebody's got a bad knee, they'd want to hear like why it works, but they don't need 70 minutes or 80 or 90 minutes of
One of the things that
science.
we do when we're coaching practices, because really none of the modalities we have are covered in this space of advanced dosage, we call it elevated care.
Yep.
So our elevated services are outside of your insurance reimbursement realm. We do, some of them they can utilize their HSA, or if they they can utilize that, or flex spending, et cetera. But for the most part, we teach from the coordinator back. Everybody is speaking in that manner. And what happens is, people say, well, does medicine do this? I go, yeah, the good ones. I have patients going into the city being offered additional stem cell or some type of healing compounded into the surgery at the bigger hospitals now. So yes, they're getting behind it. They may want to say no, but they also know their statistics of success rate.
Yes.
So in their head, they're saying, let's do everything we can to not come back with a 30% success rate, meaning a 70% fail rate.
Yeah.
So if we could put in healing factors to improve our odds, why don't we hedge the bet?
Well, I work with a ton of pro sports teams where we sell the product directly to their team doctors.
Nice.
And anytime one of the athletes tears or pulls or does something, of course they've got so much money to invest in it. It's like, let's speed the healing. Like all these athletes that tear an Achilles or something, I'm not saying that they just do stem cells. They surgically repair it, and then they throw the working cells.
Because that'll critical.
Yeah, the healing time will be cut almost in half.
To jump topics, a little bit is, obviously we follow each other and on Instagram, and it's like you can feel like you're just there, and like you're like a little brother. Leadership and fatherhood. You're raising boys out in Minnesota, and they compete in basketball, and you're a former hooper yourself, and you still ball it up. What lessons from coaching in sports translate directly into leadership in basketball, rather in business?
Yeah, well, first of all, in business, I'll start there. My motto in the last few years is I've really kind of mindset changed and been growing is business is a sport. Business is my sport now. I'm not competing professionally like you are, as far as, bodybuilding. Yeah. Not yet. You are inspiring me, though.
Come on, man. I got to represent for the over 50 crew.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe when I'm 50. But no, I really, truly do look at business and entrepreneurship as a sport. And
athletes.
And it just is. So it's competition that drives me. It's not money so much. I mean, obviously, you want to be comfortable. I make enough money. So sometimes people are like, why do you still work so hard? You got all this stuff. It's like, I don't know how else to be. Because in sports, you're always trying to get better. I mean, at 50, at 40, almost 43, we're constantly trying to push ourselves. And I take that attitude into business and entrepreneurship. And I know it's a sporting background. I played college basketball and baseball, still playing men's leagues, like you mentioned. Now, I try to work out and stuff. So part of it is just in everything that you do, if you're an athlete, you try to compete, and then you want to have an edge. So business is a sport. And then, as far as raising two boys with sports, I think it's obviously very helpful. Like you, we've had coaches our whole lives. You were a trainer. Being a dad is, I should context, I have a 13 and 9-year-old. So it's kind of a weird age. They're not really concerned with what I do, but they are. But, sometimes they'll ask questions. But I know that, especially with a 13-year-old, very soon, he's not too far away from getting a license and all that type of stuff.
He'll be paying attention.
Yeah, he's going to pay attention. So my overall, one of the whys is I like watching them watch me have good habits. Dad's going to the gym. He's at the gym. Again, wasn't he at the gym already today? Yeah, he's doing it 2 a day. Dad's working. Oh, what's he doing? He's upstairs on a call. Boy, Dad works a lot, but I'm also home. I just think it's really important that they see what hard work is, because not everybody gets to see that.
Agreed. I like that. I think that's a good answer. Athletics clearly shaped how you think, which I love. How has sports culture influenced how you build your teams when you're selecting your soldiers, if you will?
Yes, big time. First of all, I'm not saying a person has to be an ex-athlete, but I'm sure you're this way too. If you find out somebody played at least a sport in high school, team sport or whatever, it doesn't have to be team sport. I'm probably just more naturally driven. I'm thinking about the 13 sales guys I have on my team. I've actually had people joke like, boy, does every guy that you hire, muscular athlete. I'm like, I don't actually purposely think of that, but I am probably gravitated more towards people that are part of that sports team culture. I love playing softball, just being around the guys, men's league. So I think it's healthy for men to have, each other, and now we're not playing organized team sports anymore, but like I said, business.
So get guys together.
Yeah,
it's the same way,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about Minnesota roots. I was chuckling because I saw the picture of you and your wife and it looked cold, and I was like, damn. And I was like 28 ago, man, I don't know why, but it looks like it's in the like single digits there.
Yeah.
You're like, bro, it's cold here.
It's
I'm
cold
like,
up there, yeah.
So how does that toughness, loyalty, and patience show up in the fact that you stayed home, like you're still there?
Well, I'm actually going to, slight correction, it's even worse than Minnesota. I grew up, my first 18 years of my life, my mom and dad are grain farmers in North Dakota, middle of nowhere. East central North Dakota, so not too far from the Minnesota border. So I lived 18 years on a grain farm, and North Dakota is even colder.
I was just saying,
than
that's
Minnesota.
like flat plains.
It's like 5 hours northwest of Minneapolis.
I was out in Illinois on a deer hunt, and it was an atypically cold for them. And I can't imagine, because you guys have even more plains, like you're flatter than there.
Oh, it's so flat, yeah.
And all I saw was cornfields in every direction other than silos. And I was never so cold in my life. And we just sit 12 hours, literally like 5 to 5. And I'm sitting there and I'm texting the guy. I'm like, look, man, I'm shooting a big buck. And as soon as I'm done, I'm coming out. Like, I'm stuck. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to pull the gun. I'm not even going to be able to pull the trigger by 10 o'clock.
There's not enough warm clothes to keep your body chill.
All right. So I'm loving this so far, by the way. Information's fire. When you look 5 to 10 years ahead, what does success actually look like? Not financially, but in terms of real world impact.
Yeah.
We talk about that fence with Andy Elliott, building the fence around it, and legacy and the vision.
Yeah.
What's that look like?
Yeah, I love that question. And I actually think about it a fair amount. 5 to 10 years, I feel like I'm just starting my entrepreneurial journey. I know I've kind of been an entrepreneur for a while, but I've really gotten serious the last few years. Mindset shift, everything good. As more success, more opportunity comes my way, I really am starting to enjoy bringing people along for the ride. And I don't mean like the free ride. I mean like young guys that come in like, I want to work for you. I'm 42. I'm getting some grays now, so it's kind of new. You're not really used to I was a young guy, but it's like now I'm getting guys in their 20s, 30s, like whatever you're doing, I want to do it. So to me, I want to get my businesses, I want to get it so dialed in. Systems, I've always been a great salesperson, but I'm learning to get systems building teams. I'm learning it. I want to get so dialed in that just adding more people, changing more lives, not just on the patient side, of course, stem cells do that, but I would love to grow. I mean, like Andy Elliott's team, I think it's awesome that he's in Mexico right now with 150 people. I'm not saying I need to do that, but I would like to build something.
Yeah, they move like fingers on the hand.
Yeah, I would like to build something, and I'm doing it slowly but surely to have a legacy. And then, of course, me with 13 and a 9-year-old, the perfect situation would be when they're 18, unless they really want to go to college because they've got some sort of thing that they want to do, which I don't think they will. I want them to get involved with whatever I'm doing. Start them low, but I want to have systems in place, real business. I want to be able to step away a little bit more than I am now. I'm still a little bit too much in the business.
I saw it.
Yeah, you saw it. That'll come. So legacy to me is how many people, like what can Seth Berge, what can I build that and bring people with? And of course, the family part. Would be really cool if they're,
have them in there.
If I'm 75, 80 years old and I'm still running around high level shit
I want
in
you
there.
guys to be like Under Armour. I expect to come to corporate office and we got a full court. Then we'll be able to play horse by that age. Yeah. But there's a full court there.
Yes.
And if we have a meeting, we start with a full game and knockout.
Yeah.
Horse.
Yes. Yes.
Great stuff. So here's the closer. Here's the banger. If providers and patients are listening right now and feel overwhelmed by regenerative medicine, what is the one mindset shift they must make today to move from confusion and hype to clarity, responsibility, and real outcomes?
I'm going to bring it back to education, meaning if there's confusion, if there isn't clarity, talk to somebody who knows what they're doing. I would love to talk to you, get you set up. It's daunting if you don't ask questions, right? If you just grab a little bit of info from here and from there, you don't really know. Talk to somebody who's been in the space. I'm not saying it has to be me, but I've seen every angle of it. I work with hundreds of providers. Like I said, I do my own direct-to-consumer thing. It's not as confusing as they think, and reach out and learn because it's going to happen. It's not a fad. It's still in the infancy. And the projections are like $30-40 billion industry by 2030. It's not going anywhere.
Yeah, it's coming.
Your patients are going to ask for it whether you offer it or not.
But whether you're
if you're a provider.
It or not. It could be those patients that you used to treat.
Yes.
That it could be that line.
Your old patients are going somewhere to get it. Why not? Why not from
be
you?
The one that provides it?
Yeah.
I love it. Brother, thank you.
Yeah.
And by the way, just so we're clear, there's going to be an info webinar coming real soon about this because, as what I consider myself as a communication expert in education and explaining what advanced regenerative modalities are and how they can benefit the population that are in need of them, and then having direct access to amazing stem cell products and up to 12 products?
14
products. We're going to be doing stuff. So I'm very excited to see where this goes. And I'm going to be flying out to a Timberwolves game to jump on his podcast. So again, brother, thank you.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas. Thank you for
too.
coming out. I appreciate you taking the trip. Guys, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you found this informative and exciting. Regen medicine is really, it's here, it's present. We used to think it's something in the future, but it's here, and you can really find out a ton about it. I'm going to share all of Seth's information at the bottom of the podcast today. So thank you. God bless. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. And we'll see you guys again soon. Take care.